is the beginning of a legend that every pirate dreams of and fears at the same time, because it is a priceless treasure that the world has never seen and a curse that the world has never forgotten. Part 1. Shadow of the Waves and a Destiny that was Destined. The Shadow of the Tide and the Fated Destiny. Chapter 1. Captain Kairos. Centuries later, the seas are ruled by swift ships, strong winds, and unscrupulous captains. Among them is a pirate named Captain Kairos of the ship the Iris, which means rainbow, but it is a rainbow that streaks across the sky after a storm. Kairos is not a pirate seeking only gold. He seeks redemption, which he believes lies in the ultimate power of the world. Kairos is as tall as a ship's mast, with a scar over his left eye that looks like the mark of an encounter with a monster deep in the depths. He carries an old compass that always points in an uncertain direction, but Kairos believes it points to a place that will lead to Ethel's complete map. The crew of Kairos is no less special. Marina, a mysterious young navigator who can read the stars more accurately than any astronomer. She was once an ancient sea priestess and has deep knowledge of curses. Krug, a giant, silent Viking cannonball whose only true devotion is to Kairos. Sirius, a chef and philosopher who sees the humor in death. He is the only one who dares to challenge Kairos's ideas.
Ven appeared with a cruel grin on his face, his eyes gleaming with madness. He held a sword with a jagged tip like a shark's tooth. "Finally found you, Kalen. Give me what you got." "One way or another, Ven, this treasure is not yours," Kalen retorted. The battle was fierce. Kalen and Ven clashed fiercely, their swords clashing like sparks. Ven was strong and ruthless, but Kalen was agile and wise. Grandfather's notes flashed through his mind. Grandfather had written of Ven, his greed was so blind he could see nothing but what he wanted. Nothing could stop him but himself. As the battle raged, the earth shook again, this time more violently. The twisted ancient trees began to spit out green mist, and the whispers grew louder and louder, turning into the screams of spirits. Kalen knew immediately that it was the curse of the sea that was awakening. "Get back to the ship! We have to get out of here!" Kalen shouted to the crew. Both sides retreated, leaving behind damage and loss. Kalen saw Ven's shadow still staring at him with hatred, before a green mist engulfed everything. Chapter 3. The Path to the Heart of the Vortex. With an ancient compass as their guide, the wave dragons sail out into the open sea once more. The azure compass glows faintly and points towards a direction uncharted, southwest. They face unprecedented waves and strange and terrifying deep-sea creatures. A giant squid with glowing eyes and a giant whale with skin covered in bioluminescent algae. Along the way, they came across a floating island made up of the wreckage of hundreds of old pirate ships. It was the pirate ship graveyard, a place where cursed ships ended up. On the island were the wandering spirits of deranged pirates, their minds consumed by curses. They tried to attack the wave dragons, but Kalen, using the knowledge he had gained from the records, recited an ancient prayer his grandfather had taught them to drive the spirits away. The prayer was not a fight, but a show of respect for the imprisoned spirits, temporarily calming them and allowing the wave dragons to pass through. "Captain, how did you do that?" Fergus asked in amazement. "My grandfather used to say that the curse wasn't meant to destroy, but to protect. Only those who understand the spirit of the sea can break through," Kalen replied. The voyage was long, and the crew's patience was wearing thin. Food supplies were running low, and fresh water was running low. "Captain, when will we arrive?" Grumbles began to erupt from some of the crew. Kalen knew he had to rebuild his crew's faith. He told the story of the emerald and the curse from a different perspective. He didn't talk about power, but about the balance of the world. He He talked about the beauty of the ocean being destroyed and how the emerald could restore it. He promised that the real treasure wouldn't be gold, but seeing the ocean restored. Many of the crew began to look at him with understanding. Then one day, the compass glowed even brighter. It pointed to a spot in the middle of the ocean where there was nothing but water. Kayla knew they had arrived. "Get ready, we're going down." Chapter 4: Flames of Greed. When the wave dragon reached the point where the compass was pointing, they encountered a phenomenon they had never seen before. The water began to swirl into a giant whirlpool that sucked everything down. It was the heart of the whirlpool. "How do we get down, Captain?" Alara asked with a worried expression. "There is only one way," Kalen replied. He ordered his crew to prepare the boat for the deepest dive possible. He believed that the wave dragon boat, made of ancient oak and reinforced with special steel, would be able to withstand the pressure of the water. As they were about to dive, the roar of the cannon rang out again. Ven's night butterfly executioner emerged from the darkness. Among Ven's crew, some had bloodshot eyes as if possessed by a curse. They began to attack the wave dragon frantically. "Kalen, are you planning to keep the treasure for yourself?" Ven shouted loudly, his eyes filled with madness. "The emerald is mine! It's mine alone!" Kalen knew this was his final battle. He could no longer escape. "All crew, protect the ship! We must break through this vortex!" A fierce naval battle begins with cannonballs being fired relentlessly. The wave dragons have the advantage in maneuverability, but Ven's ship has superior firepower. Fergus and Cruz lead the battle on the deck, and the crew fights with hearts full of hope, even in the face of despair. Kalen knows he has no choice but to confront Ven personally. Using a small boat, he climbs across to Ven's ship. Chaos ensues on the deck of the Night Butterfly Executioner. Ven's people are consumed by the greed brought on by the curse, fighting among themselves for what they believe to be the clue to the treasure. "Ven, stop! You're under a curse!" Kalen shouted as he clashed with Ven on the bridge of Ven's ship. "A curse! Ha ha ha! It's power! The power to make me the king of the sea!" Ven roared, his sword slashing frantically at Kalen. The fight between Kalen and Ven is fierce. Kalen dodges and counters. He notices that Ven's movements, while swift and powerful, lack the precision and intelligence that Ven once possessed. Greed has eclipsed everything in him. Kalen knows that he cannot kill Ven, for that is not the Chosen One's way. He must try to stop him. Chapter 6: Betrayal and the Boiling Ocean. As Kairos and his crew piece together the 5 maps into a single picture of the sunken city of Ethel, Valentine arrives. Valentine did not come alone. He had formed an alliance with Kairos's rival pirate faction and had bribed Kairos's powerful cannon fodder, Crook, with the promise of power and authority over the Sea Kingdom. The teacher did not betray him because of his greed for gold, but because he feared the curse of the demon. He believed that Kairos was leading everyone to ruin. A huge battle takes place on the Iris between Kairos and Kruk. The fight is not with swords, but with hearts. Kairos does not want to kill his friend, but Kruk refuses to back down. "You are leading us into darkness, Kairos. We will be nothing but a drifting ghost ship," Kruk roared. "If darkness is where the treasure lies, then we must go there, Kruk. But we will go as humans who choose their own destiny." Kairos eventually manages to knock the Kruk unconscious without killing him. But this betrayal demoralizes the crew and allows Valentine to seize the complete map before guiding the Iris to its destination. Part 4: The City of Ethel and the Resolution of the Curse. The City of Ethel and the Resolution of the Curse. Chapter 7: Sinking into the Underwater City. Valentine steers the judge toward its final coordinates, a point where the seafloor has split open, creating an entrance to the city of Ethel,
shrouded in a deep blue darkness and glowing vegetation. Kairos and the remaining crew, Marina and Sirius, follow close behind. They leave the Iris on the surface and use a submarine hidden in a cargo hold beneath the ship to dive down. The journey down is a matter of physical and spiritual pressure. When they arrived at Ethel City, they found it no longer a ruin, but a city frozen in time. The towering crystal buildings emitted a gentle light, but had an eerie, abandoned atmosphere. Valentine had reached the center of the city, a large altar where azure crystals shone. That was where the crown of the gods was located. As Valentine reached out to touch the crown, a massive energy exploded. The tremors caused the surrounding seawater to boil. The curse of the demon began to take effect. Valentine's body began to be covered in algae and coral, and his eyes turned a blank emerald green. "I am the Savior," Valentine shouted in a piercing voice. "I will rule the entire sea." But the sea did not respond to Valentine's commands, but to his greed. Valentine's body began to become part of the altar, like a statue cursed to guard a treasure forever. Kairos arrived at the altar and sees Valentine's fate. He knows that if he touches the crown in his desire to gain the power to undo what has been lost, he will be cursed as well. Marina knelt beside him, her face pale from the effects of the curse spreading. "Kairos, you must not touch it if you still have hidden desires." A curse whispered in Kairos' head. "Take the crown. Your daughter will return. Sunken ships will rise again. Take this power." Kairos stood between his greatest desire in life and his present redemption. With a deep pain, he reached out, but before he could touch the divine crown, he shouted, "I don't need this power to undo what has been lost. I need this power to break the curse, to bring peace to those who are imprisoned, and to free the seas from eternal greed." His actions were not a request for power for himself, but a request for power to liberate others. This act was a true act of sacrifice. As soon as those words ended, the crown's crystal no longer shone with blue light, but instead turned into a pure, soft white light. The crown floated up from the altar and was not handed over to Kairos, but rather disintegrated into a glowing crystal powder. This is the truth of the world's most precious treasure. The divine crown is not to be possessed, but is merely a key used to release the curse's energy. As the crown dissipated, the energy sealed in the city of Ethel was released, and the seawater that had been pressed down for centuries began to flow. The underwater city began to sink into inaccessible depths. Kairos and his crew, including Crook, who came down to save them at the last minute after witnessing Valentine's fate, hurriedly escape Ethel before the city was engulfed in eternal darkness. When they reached the surface, a noticeable change occurred. The curse was broken. Hundreds of ghost ships that once roamed the forbidden waters disappeared. They were brought to rest, and their souls were released. The true treasure, the knowledge and energy released from the crown, is absorbed into Marina, the recipient. Marina does not have the power to control the waves, but she understands the language of the ocean and can perfectly navigate a ship without the need for any maps. Kairos did not possess gold, armies, or empire, but he found something far more precious: freedom and inner peace. He decided to no longer be a plundering pirate, but a protector of the waters recently freed from human greed. Kairos was not cursed to be adrift forever, but chose to continue sailing as the shadow of the tide, who would chase away those who sought to discover and use this once cursed energy for their own gain. The Iris sails towards the uncharted horizon, led by Kairos, Marina, and Crook, whose bond was forged in the face of death. Epilogue: The Legacy of the Sea. The Legacy of the Sea. The crown of the gods disappeared along with the